What is up, everyone? Welcome to the next hour of your life, watching me on F1 Fantasy pole position, going over some deadline stream questions. I am here for the next hour, and then I'm hopping on a train to go see Dua Lipa in Munich. So, still want to do some form of content. So, hopefully, you guys enjoy it. As you can see, right above my head, 3190 subscribers, trying to get to 3200 by the end of the weekend. So yeah, if you are watching and you have not subscribed, let me know. I've got a poll up here. Are you ditching Piastri for Verstappen or Norris? Yes, Verstappen. Yes, Norris. Or no. No is currently leading at 75%. And since we've only got an hour, let's get right into the questions here. Nicholas says 113 million, Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Colapinto, McLaren, Williams, 2 free transfers, not sure what to do. What do you think is better second constructor, Red Bull or Ferrari? The ultimate question of the week here. Right now, we have the Sims down here in the corner. Let me get rid of your chat here, Nicholas, so everybody can see it. We got Red Bull down here at 54.6 expected points, and Red Bull at 55.1, and Ferrari at 54.6. I still like Red Bull because Max winning, fastest lap, that sort of stuff, it just feels like a better shout. I know Ferrari are more likely to get teammate quali points with like both drivers getting into Q3 and like pit stop points, but like Charles has been pretty down. Yesterday after free practice, he was talking about how it has been better than he thought it was going to be, but still like Max was saying, like, it's been one of our best Fridays of the year. Like, and it looks like Max is pretty dialed in. And when it's one of those weekends where Verstappen's shadow is kind of hanging over everything, it is hard to get away from him. So I think I would go with Red Bull here, and then probably get rid of Albon for like a Lawson. I mean, those are probably going to be my moves. If like, here's my squad right now coming off of a limitless weekend. I got Albon and Mercedes probably out for Red Bull and either Liam Lawson or Fernando Alonso. I'm a little bit worried about Lawson. Just that FP3 didn't go too swimmingly. And just going straight to Alonso with the price drop, he won't get a price rise, but like, is it defensive just to go all the way down to Alonso? Like, I feel like Lawson can still get that 0.6 price rise. And that is kind of where we're at. If we go to the budget builder here, we can look at all the odds. We've got like Lawson still at 44%. Ryder has said that there will be an FP3 sim, so we'll get into that as well. And it says, hi, you and I have Norris, Sonoda, Albon, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren kick with 107.1 million. What should I change? Also, McLaren, Red Bull, or Red Bull, Ferrari, or McLaren, Williams. I think McLaren, Red Bull, and then I'd probably get rid of Albon and Sonoda, and maybe just go to, I'm trying to think. You probably can get to Racing Bulls and Lawson with something like that. Nixie says, after FP3, I am not selling Piastri. Yeah, Piastri put in a crazy run. That was like half a second. Now, Norris did go off on his first push lap, so his tires were like a little compromised, I guess. But he still got within half a second and was top of the time, or P2 with Piastri here, as you can see. Lawson ended up getting in a run. I had to kind of turn off FP3 before. So Lawson getting a top 10 run in makes me feel a little bit better, actually. So Lawson is more viable. Alonso here, P8, which is good, but F1 practice debrief data over here, Aston Martin, 5th, looking like they're flying in quali, but then we go over to the race pace, 9th, gonna sink like a stone. If anyone remembers Haas from 2023, you'll remember what that feels like. So while Alonso can't drop, it's like, is he even gonna score points? Like, that would be the reason to go to Alonso if you think he's gonna outscore Lawson, but I just don't think he is. Racing Bulls, however, are also like, they're right there in like sixth for qualifying and seventh for race pace. So that's not great either, but it's such an easy price rise if Lawson and Hadjar can take it home this weekend. Daniel says, "Hi, what do you think it is worth trading Hulkenberg for Sainz for negative 10 points?" Williams looked a tiny bit better, but not great. And yeah, I don't think you'll cover off the negative 10 points there with Sainz. So I think I would just probably keep Hulkenberg or drop him down to Lawson instead. Topaz is in the chat saying Piastri plus Sainz or Norris plus Alonso. Thoughts? Ooh. That is tough. Sainz could drop. I mean, he's got a 70% chance of dropping this week. Alonso can't drop. So, and then we've got the expected points here. Sainz at 5.6 and Alonso at 5, probably battling it out for driver of the day. So I think I'd go with the Norris Alonso side there, Topaz. Prefer Behrman or Alonso? I think I'd go Behrman. I think with the way Haas qualify, and then they the race pace is still not very good this weekend, but I kind of trust Haas to make their way through the field a little bit, but it has not been looking good for Haas this weekend. So that's tough. How close, what does Behrman have to do? Where is he at? So yeah, what does he need? 9 points for a price rise? That is tough. I guess I'd go, I still think Behrman. There's something in my brain that's saying that Behrman can still have a good weekend. Kits is in the chat saying, goodness me, Albon and Sainz seem to be struggling. Do you think either one of them make it to Q3? I don't think so. It looks bad. I don't think Williams are going to be there this weekend, so they're kind of off the radar for me in F1 Fantasy. Samantha is in the chat also saying, so tempted by Piastri, Norris, Colapinto, Hadjar, Lawson, McLaren, VCARP, but my brain says Piastri, Lawson, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, McLaren, Ferrari. I am also tempted by that. I do not have that budget to get to the Norris part. I can get to the Leclerc part of that with Piastri, Leclerc, Colapinto, Hadjar, Lawson, McLaren, VCARB. I'm 0.2 off of max in that kind of situation. So I'm probably going to end up on that Piastri, Lawson, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, McLaren, Ferrari build. And that's probably, I mean, I might go with Red Bull instead of Ferrari, but I'm going to be on that kind of build there, Samantha. So I don't know. With McLaren looking so epic, it might be nice to it's so tempting, but Norris had the tiny little mistake to put it a little bit more doubt in our brain again. Chris says, morning, all morning. Chris Akacha says, Piastri times 2, Sainz, Alonso, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Ferrari for a negative 10 from Piastri, Stroll, Colapinto, Doohan, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes. Sainz and Alonso for a negative 10. I don't know. Maybe Lawson would be better for a negative 10. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I go Lawson over Sainz this week. Is it a good time for wildcard if I'm considering negative 10 or save it for later in the season? I would save it. I think a negative 10 is viable. If you're in negative 20 range, that is where I would go. There are 200 people watching and there are 16 likes. So if you guys can do me a favor and hit the like button, that way we can get more people in the chat, more F1 fantasy ideas coming in. That would be fantastic. Really appreciate that. Vale is in the chat saying, really Red Bull instead of Ferrari? It's mostly Max. I can't get to Max, and it feels absurd to not have any exposure to Max Verstappen this weekend. He seems like he's on it. I'm willing to take the risk with Tsunoda. But yeah, Tsunoda doesn't look good either. So it's tough, but I can't get to Max, and I don't think it's worth transferring Piastri to Verstappen. I don't think there's a big enough upside to use a transfer there where I can also get getting out of this Albon Mercedes problem with a Lawson to Red Bull thing feels like the easier fix. I can't even get to Verstappen with a negative 10. If I could, I would, but I can't, Valley. So that's where I'm at in terms of just Ferrari just they still really haven't done enough. Like, where are you at? Like, Hamilton looks, Charles is a little close, but like, he's not, like, we're not expecting him to outqualify Verstappen. And I don't know if they're going to pass, they're not, I doubt they can outqualify Mercedes either. So I don't know. Did Leclerc go out late? I saw him in the garage right before I flipped off FP3. So if he went out late and banked that like at the very end of the session, then that gives me a little bit more pause as well. However, I think Ferrari will pass Mercedes tomorrow on track. So as you can see here, quali simulation pace Mercedes up on Ferrari by like 0.14. But then in the race pace, Ferrari's going to climb as well. So, but they're not going to get past Red Bull. They're not going to get past Max. So if Yuki can just get into Q3 and get a couple of easy overtakes, like we could be in business here as Red Bull managers. So we'll see how that goes. Stephanie is in the chat. What do you think about Piastri, Verstappen, Colapinto, Hadjar, Bortoleto, and McLaren VCarb? Not sure about double premium driver versus double premium constructor. I think that's a nice balance because Verstappen is likely going to rise. Piastri's going to rise. Colapinto, Bortoleto can't fall. VCarb's going to rise. So you've got a nice balance there. And you've got 2 of the 3 potential pole position winners and like race winners overall. So that, I don't mind that build at all. There's part of me that kind of wants to go with that build, but it goes into getting like Charles Leclerc in my squad. And I don't know. Also, the thing is that Canada is likely going to be a little bit of a tougher track from what I've been hearing. Canada's going to be a little bit of a tougher track for Red Bull. So like going all in with Red Bull and then having to transfer them out in Canada isn't ideal either. But Verstappen, you could get like, it's tough. I like the build though. I can't get to it. So I don't mind people that are going to go there. Joshua says, what would be your wild card if I had 115.9 million? Whew. Okay, so right now I'm at 110.7 million with this squad here. I'd probably get McLaren and Red Bull in with Piastri. So I got 110, you've got 100. So I need something that's like 5.2 million more. I'd keep Hadjar. I'd probably bring in Alonso for point scoring. I'd bring in Lawson. And then, so you can get up to, what would that be? 16.9. Ugh, that's kind of tough. If I lowered it, like if I brought in Max, I'm trying to think here. Let's see. So Lando's 31. I think that's kind of a strange price point. You know what? Let's just go to the team calculator here, because they will help us out tremendously. Let's pretend that I have 115.9 million and I'm on wildcard. Right now, F1 Fantasy Tools is saying McLaren, Red Bull, Piastri, Sonoda, Behrman, Alonso, Colapinto will get you the most points, but in a price building mode, you'd be at McLaren, VCarb, Norris, Piastri, Colapinto, Lawson, Hadjar. That is pretty nice. That's a lot of price building or budget building there, Joshua. So maybe that mold would be nice. Zakacha says, I'm using 3X for a mini league. Who would you put 3X and 2X on? I'm thinking Piastri X3, Norris X2, Science Bordello called. Yeah, I think you nailed it there, Zakacha. Great job by you. Nixie says, whoa. Let's see here. 113.8 million in budget with 3 free transfers. McLaren, Ferrari, Hadjar, Piastri, Def keeps for me. Albon and Bortoleto on the shopping blocks. Lawson coming in, and then between Behrman and Alonso, probably Behrman. What would you do? Yeah, I'd probably go Behrman. Yeah, Nixie, that's what I would do. Uncle Papa Lee says, thoughts on this budget points build? Piastri, Leclerc, Verstappen, Hadjar, Bortoleto, kick VCarb with 2X and 3X Verstappen. Whew, my brain can barely comprehend that kind of build, Uncle Papa Lee. But if you've thought it out, like, go for it. So, whoa, super early. Hello. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of an earlier stream, and I'm kind of clearing out for like Rain and Rob and Adam and Zach and all of them to have their deadline streams an hour before. So figured I'd do something to get some content out in my kind of uh, just some content out of here before I get on a train. Ivan says, what do you think about Norris, Piastri, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Colapinto, McLaren, Kick, and maybe Bortoleto to Lawson for -10? Oof, that is tough. I mean, you'll be okay. Kick should rise. I think they've got like a 92% chance of rising. So nothing bad there. But Bortoleto to Lawson for -10. Maybe. Yeah, I guess I would, but I don't love it for a -10. Dan says, how come people are selling Mercedes? I'm a bit out of the loop because Mercedes are likely to drop, Dan. As you can see here, they need to score 52 points to avoid a drop and 74 points to get a great price increase. And because of the 6 points they had in Imola and the 9 points they had in Monaco. So things aren't looking great. They look like they'll be okay. If they had a okay Monaco, I just tweeted this out at F1 Fantasy Ewan, if you want to follow me on there, that if they hadn't pooped the bed in Monaco, I think Mercedes would be a fine hold because traditionally they're very good at this track and they look okay. Russell is a little bit down on their race pace, but I still expect him to finish like top 7. Both drivers to finish top 7. But 52 points might be a little bit outside of where they can go. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. 83% of you guys are saying that you will not be swapping out Piastri now. Is that all FP3 kind of related? Hi, everyone. Curious on the preference of the chat. If you can fix your team with one move, like replacing Gasly, would you replace Ferrari? I don't know, but I'm going to end this poll, and we're going to get the biggest poll, probably, of the weekend. Second constructor. Red Bull, Ferrari, Racing Bulls. Let me know what you guys are going to go with on this poll here. Let's get over here. There's a lot more people in here. 200 and 300 people are in the are watching. So I think that's probably going to be the record for a stream like myself. So appreciate everyone being here. Yeah, and just keep liking. And if you're new around here, if this is the first time you're seeing me, as you can see, we're very close to 3,200 subscribers. So trying to get there by the end of the weekend. And tomorrow, after the race, if you are going to go to another stream after this, totally understand. There's plenty of great content creators out there. But 1 hour after every Grand Prix, I will be doing a cool down room where I kind of like debrief on F1 Fantasy. It's pretty good chit chat. There's usually a lot of us in here, and just kind of talking about what happened during the day. SRR says McLaren, Red Bull, Piastri, Alonso, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Hadjar have another 2.4. How to spend? Colapinto to Lawson? I mean, that's not using a lot of it, but you probably is okay. Do you think -10 for Colapinto to Alonso is worth it for driver of the day? It's such a guessing game, Brandon. I don't think it's worth it. I think it's a luxury transfer. If it's for free, I wouldn't mind it. But like I'm saying here, free practice takeaway is not worth transfer to swap top or bottom assets. I'd rather just keep the transfer or the 10 points. Ferrari or Red Bull, it's 55% Red Bull right now, so I'm going Red Bull. Accused one says McLaren looks like a 1-2. Thoughts on you ditching Mercedes and Albon to pick up Norris and Kick? Full McLaren. Norris and Kick. I don't have the stones to go with Kick Sauber. I can't do it. 1 DNF away from like a huge, like a 0.6 price fall and like no points. That would be pretty brutal, but props to everyone that will go there. Peter says, hey, Ewan, what is up, Peter? Ivan says, Bortoleto or Alonso? I prefer Alonso in a vacuum. Valet says, I'm not sold on Red Bull with that second RB Sonoda, even if the Red Bull is quick on paper, only in Max hands. Yeah, but like, if we go over here to the statistics page on f1fantasytools.com, like Red Bull is still doing pretty solid. Like Sonoda had a DNF there, but 46, 46, 60, 71, like a DNF there. Monaco is going to Monaco. Red Bull is or Ferrari is solid enough, but just there's something about them that I like. The pit stop points are good and the qualies are good. I really need to think about this before the deadline. About 2 hours to go until the deadline. So, um, yeah, that's maybe I will end up on Ferrari. I don't know. Charles getting in there is fine. Did anyone watch the last 4 minutes of FP3? Did Charles go late on his push lap, so that's why he looks a little bit better. But the Ferrari, I mean, if they're kind of like, say if they are guaranteed to overtake at least the Mercedes tomorrow, that's pretty nice. Ugh, dang it. But the problem would be, I haven't actually checked this out. I think I'd still be okay with this build, but Bortoleto, Colapinto, and then I'd have Lawson in here. The nice thing about Red Bull, going with Red Bull here, guys, is that if I have Red Bull, I have enough to like final fix from Piastri to like say Piastri has a terrible time and Verstappen just looks way on it on qualifying. Like, I don't know. Man, I wish I could. Yeah, it's tough. That is very tough. Toby is in the chat. Should I keep Albon instead of getting lost if it means that I don't take a -10? Oh, that might be difficult because Racing Bulls looks better than Williams and Lawson is going to rise. So maybe I would take a -10 for that. Raza is in the chat saying Piastri for pure points or Leclerc for differential. Piastri. I don't think we need to get too differential right now. Mr. Iceman said, this is going to be a super long stream. I need to go make a smoothie. By the way, what do you do with Hulk? I don't mind keeping Hulk, but if you can get rid of him for Lawson for free, I would do that. Do you think the Williams will make up places from the back, though? Yes, they'll make up some places, but I don't know how many. And it's just like with Red Bull and Ferrari and Racing Bulls right there, like it feels like a little bit too risky to go there for now. Michael says, who's a good replacement for Williams? I like Racing Bulls. Hussein is in the chat saying, hey-oh, what is up? And Odd says, I could beat Albon in my T2 and just bring in Red Bull for Mercedes, but I could maybe bring in Sainz for the driver of the day potential. Driver of the day potential is, God, it's so tempting, but like it could easily end up as Piastri or Lando or Max as well. And then we've just all been overthinking it a little bit. Prenzel says, second constructor so confusing. I agree, Prenzel. Matt Press is in the chat saying Piastri, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Ferrari, 7 million in the bank. Should I go Hulkenberg to Lawson and roll or Lawson and Red Bull? See, I would prefer to roll the transfer there. So I think I would just do Hulkenberg to Lawson. And then like you have 3 free transfers for Canada. I always like my first option is always to roll the transfer. For me this week, I can't get there. It's kind of frustrating, but it is what it is. So I would prefer to roll there, Matt. So I prefer that. Hussein says Williams for the price increase, maybe. Yes, I still expect Williams to go up in price. Like, where are we at? Let's go back here. They have an 85% chance of going up 0.6. But with the 5.9 million in savings you can get from VCarb, like that's a lot of money that you can kind of move around. Especially if you already have Williams, I don't think I'd get rid of them per se. But if you're trying to build budget or like move from a Mercedes down, like I wouldn't really mind just going all the way down to Racing Bulls and banking more money, because at the end of the day, we are using them to build budget. The expected points is Williams 16, Racing Bulls 15. So not bad at all. Like we don't have to worry too much about that either. Diogo, Bernardo, should I drop Albon after FP3? Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes. Yes, I would drop Albon and Mercedes probably. Nigel the Crab. I'm 423rd globally, struggling to know what changes to make. Tempted to drop Ferrari for Red Bull. It's tough. It feels like one of those sideways moves that, like, if Tsunoda goes out Q1, forbid, that we could be like head in our hands here with Red Bull. I think if you have Ferrari, you can probably keep them. The decision between Ferrari and Red Bull really comes in. Oh my, it's 52-48. There's like no, like everyone is pretty split on this. So it could be quite a swingy weekend in F1 fantasy, which is fun. That's quite nice. 360 people watching, 80 likes. So, like I said, more likes gets more people in the chat, and we can all answer each other's questions. I am doing my best to get through as many as possible, but help me out and share the love a little bit. Hussein says Alonso is not a great option in my opinion since he qualifies well and drops down. Yeah, he just can't fall in price, so that's kind of nice. And if he's like, he could be okay going forward. Just like a long-term hold would be fine. You might take a little bit of pain this week, but it is what it is. Diogo says, I have the same team for my T2. If you have around 112, but you should be able to go Red Bull instead of Mercedes. I might replace Albon anyway. I do not have 112 in budget, unfortunately. I have 110.7. Autopilot of using Piastri and Verstappen. Tempting. I would love to save that for like a sprint weekend, though, just because it's like more, yeah. Don't know. I don't think I'd use it this weekend. I don't think it's a chip weekend. Nixie says, I don't get how you're so hot on Max when he's so off at an FP3. I can get him for free and still won't do it. Yeah. Fair enough. I don't know. It's still Max. But like, was that just McLaren like stretching their legs? I mean, he's a whole second off of Piastri. That is quite scary. So that's a great point, Nixie. Thank you for bringing that up. Dominic says, so you think Max has the sandbags on? I don't know. It just feels just kind of crazy to write him off for a weekend. Dan Bernard's, I have 112. Can you believe it? Exa Gaming says, Piastri, Lawson, Colapinto, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Racing Bulls, or Red Bull, or Piastri, Norris. I really don't like the kick builds, but if you have the minerals for it, go for it. ATL says, top 1K, I'm thinking -10 Piastri, Max, Colapinto, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Racing Bulls, points, and budget. Not bad at all. Chiringuito, FPL, Piastri, Lawson, Colapinto, Hadjar, Alonso / Sainz, McLaren, Ferrari, or save a transfer and go Piastri, Lawson, Sainz, Colapinto. I would save a transfer. Yeah. Tried to move to it. Looks like I have 0.5 left in Red Bull. Marty says, worth taking -10 for Piastri, Verstappen, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Racing Bulls. I mean, it'll probably cover it off and you get some good budget building, so I don't hate it, Marty. Valet is in the chat saying, I think I'm taking a -10 and go McLaren plus Red Bull or Racing Bulls. So tough with the RBs. I guess VRB, let's go with that for Baby Bulls, and then let's go with just RBR for Red Bull Racing. Yeah, it's kind of confusing, especially now that they're not just, or just V-Carb. How about Piastri, Leclerc, Sainz, Lawson, Hadjar, McLaren, V-Carb? That is a build I'm considering. I don't love it, though. I think that's a -10 for me, so I don't think I would be going there. But if you can get that for free, I don't mind it because you got a nice little balance of points and budget building there. I'm not sure about Red Bull, and to be honest, Mercedes wasn't that bad. I know, Diogo. So Mercedes wasn't that bad, but I still feel like they're going to drop. Like, let's see here. Let's go back to the statistics. Mercedes 67, 69, 56, 60, 46, 51. So they need what, 51 or 52 to rise? So it's like right there. It's just been bad here, but they are historically very strong at the Spanish Grand Prix. But Russell is worried about their race pace. He said so in the interviews yesterday. Qualifying, top 3, and then race pace, like a whole 10th off of it. So that's not great either. Don't love that. John is in the chat saying, what about McLaren kick to do Piastri, Verstappen if you can't afford Racing Bulls? Risky. But Nixie just brought up a great point that Verstappen was kind of off it here. But we should be getting some FP3 sims. So that's where we're at there. If it looks like Verstappen has dropped a little bit, I probably will. Maybe I'll pivot over here to Ferrari. Maybe the pit stop points and the quality points are worth it. That's the biggest decision. Right now it's 49.51. This is ridiculous. 254 votes, and we are just 49 as Ferrari. Sorry, I forgot I had Racing Bulls in there. Racing Bulls 27%, Red Bull 24%. So you guys aren't sold. You guys are sold on Ferrari more than Red Bull or Racing Bulls. Okay, that's got me something to think about. FPL Discomfort says these free prizes have led to so many different options. I know, it's great. I mean, it's going to be a very swingy weekend in F1 Fantasy. We are over 3,200 subscribers. So thank you to the 10 or so new subscribers that have reached out on the stream. Really appreciate it. And we are at 98 likes. We are just short of 100 likes on the stream. So that would be epic if you guys could help me out there. VCarb is the move this weekend, guys. Mark my words, says Marty. Okay, marking them down. You report otherwise, says you. And if I only have one transfer left, I need to replace Gasly. Who should I add? Also, should I take a hit and add in Red Bull plus Lawson? I would just go Lawson to Gasly and maybe be done with it there. Let's see. Falling behind quite a bit in the chat. All right, same though. Literally can't decide between Mercedes, Red Bull, and Ferrari. Honestly, Mercedes might edge out Red Bull for me with how well Kimi and George were doing. Agreed there, Benads. Martin Philip Kessler says Team 1, Piastri, Verstappen, McLaren, VCarb, or Team 2, Piastri, plus McLaren, Red Bull. The rest is Hadjar, Bortoleto, and pretty set. Which team and if Team 2, who for 14.5 million? Ugh. That's tough. Maybe Team 1. Team 1, I think. Casper is in the chat. What is up, Casper? Current team is Piastri, Albon, Alonso, Bortoleto, Colapinto, McLaren, Ferrari. What are your suggestions? Piastri, Verstappen, Red Bull, or just maybe do Alonso to Hadjar and roll a transfer? Uni project due today. I'm over here overthinking F1 Fantasy. I think I would just roll the transfer and go like Albon to Hadjar or Albon to Lawson, whatever you'd feel more comfortable with. Probably Hadjar. Rui says, will it be worth changing Bortoleto for Alonso for the third free transfer? I like that it's for free. I like it more that it's for free, but but then you could have that third free transfer in Canada, and it just might be more valuable because you have more info. You know what's going on a little bit more. So I don't think I'd do it. I know the driver of the day odds are better, but there's just so much stuff that could happen between now and then. Diogo, I do think Mercedes will keep outscoring Red Bull because if things keep going like this, Red Bull will only be worth it if Verstappen wins the race. Yeah, maybe that's a good point. No, McLaren is wild. Yes, as much McLaren as you can possibly fit. Ferrari or Red Bull. The people are speaking right now, and they're saying Ferrari, 51%. Can always try and final fix for Verstappen instead of bringing Red Bull. Not bad. Falazza says Ferrari or Red Bull. The people are speaking. Falazza, they are going with Ferrari. Current team is Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, and Williams. Thinking of dropping Albon and Williams for Lawson and Red Bull with a negative 10. Do you need a negative 10 for that? I guess maybe you do, yeah, because you got Albon and Williams already. So, could you get to Ferrari with that negative 10? I don't know. You guys are starting to kind of sway me a little bit. I know I've got, I have to put this graphic together before I go live and we're chit-chatting, but I know I've got Red Bull over Ferrari there, but 51% Ferrari, that's pretty strong right there. McLaren VCarb combo looks good. It does look good, but does it look good with Leclerc? I don't know. Like, this is where my head is at. Where are we at? T3. Okay. So this is my current team. McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto. So the most points gaining is Red Bull VCarb. No, that's with what is with this? Oh, that's with the wild card. I don't have the wild card. So the most budget I can gain here, according to the team calculator, is VCarb and Leclerc in for Mercedes and Albon. 189.2 points, 1.65 budget gain. But the points is Red Bull and Sainz, which I don't think I'll be doing no matter what. But Red Bull Lawson, 212 points, 1.27. So that's, goodness gracious, so bad at remembering things. Probably not a great sign for later in life for me, but like, what do we got here? 20 points. Goodness gracious, I hope so. 20 points for 0.4 gain. What do you guys think? What would you rather go with? Let's make another poll here. Let's end this poll. So Ferrari comes out as the winners for that poll. Start a poll. Would you rather have an extra 22 points, an extra 0.4 mil in budget? Oh, let me know. Oh, I don't need that answer, and I don't need that answer, and I don't need that answer. Start poll. Let's go. We got 25 minutes to figure that out. Just personally for me, you guys are great crowdsourcing reference. I really appreciate it. 120 likes, 300 people watching. That is absurd behavior. Thank you, everyone. Let's see here. The thingies. I know there's Rob and who else have we got? Rain are probably going live right now. But I will be around for 30 more minutes, and then you guys can flip over there if you want. Just more F1 fantasy content. Yeah, F1 fantasy content. The thingy says, I've got Piastri and one of either Verstappen or Norris. Who would you choose to X? McLaren just looks so mega. Ugh. I'm kind of changing my mind here on the stream. That's tough. It would be tough. I think I'd probably go Norris. That's an insane budget, so great job by you. Helly says, what do you think for building budget? Piastri, Verstappen, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, Ferrari, and V-Carb? No McLaren is pretty wild. I would say that they are very much in for a 0.3 price rise over Ferrari as well. So if you can just get with McLaren instead, I'd probably go there. Haley, but thank you for the question. Oliver says, do you think Albon to Sainz and Bortoleto to Hadjar are good moves? Because I don't have budget to just do Bortoleto to Hadjar. The rest of my team is Piastri, Alonso, Colapinto, and McLaren / Ferrari. Yeah, those are fine. I don't really love just going the sideways Williams route. Like, what else could you get here? Let me see. Drivers. Maybe Behrman, but I just think that Haas tend to climb through the field. Are Williams a good hold, hoping they could come back a bit in Canada? Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. I mean, they should. I still expect them to get the 0.6 rise, just like the point scoring aspect of it. But I don't think I'd flip from Williams to Racing Bulls this week. Keaton says, I have Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, Ferrari, thinking of doing Ferrari to Racing Bulls and Albon to Verstappen or Norris. Thoughts? Yeah, that's pretty nice. It's pretty like drastic switch. I like it. I don't know if I would do it, but if that's how you are feeling, like, then yes. But Verstappen, I'd probably go Norris over Verstappen. Rob is in the chat, or was in the chat. I'm assuming he's doing his stream now. Formula Fantasy Hub says, morning, Ewan. Enjoy Dua Lipa later. Make decision decisions. I'm probably 50-50 on Red Bull. Ferrari sims don't make it easier. They sure don't. Ask Reddit says, current build. McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Alonso, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto. Free transfer. Who should I swap? Budget 106.8 million. Oh, 2 free transfers. Oh man, not a ton of options there. I don't know how much you have like in like remaining in budget, but I would try and get Bortoleto up, or Colapinto. He looks awful this weekend. Colapinto up to Lawson would be fine for me. An extra 22 points is leading the poll right now by 59%. Diogo says, I'm swapping Bortoleto to Lawson for potential budget or Alonso for his FP3. Many doubts this race. Haha, yeah. Yeah. Matthew says, I have Piastri, Russell, Ocon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Mercedes, Williams, thinking I take the 10 points hits, but could do with taking 20 points less wildcards, but I don't know if wildcard is a good play for this point in the season. With the new Flexi Wing technology or technical directive, like there will be some weird results, but it's going to be hard to kind of just make the assumption based on one race. Well, Albon said on his Thursday press conference that like he does expect Williams to struggle here. So that doesn't mean that just because they struggled on the same weekend that the like technical directive came in, even though they were still like low, or the expectations were low for this track. So it's kind of tough to say, but If you take a negative 20, I would use a wild card. FPL Discomfort says, feel I have to go Merc and Albon to Red Bull and Behrman. Alonso in option 2, keeping Piastri it seems, but Red Bull definitely sandbagged FP3 in my opinion. Okay, I guess we'll have to see if we get any data over the next 2 hours to kind of let us know about that. Zuby, Hulk stay in or out? Should I do a negative 10 to bring in Lawson? I can't remember what... where are we at here with... So Hulkenberg, 3.7 points, expected to drop, whereas Lawson has a pretty good chance of rising. I know the sims are pretty low on Lawson, but I think they should be a little bit better than that. For the negative 10, but possibly the budget increase, I think I'd do it. Worth taking negative 10 to move from Ferrari to Red Bull constructor? No, do not think so. Ivan says, Colapinto or Bortoleto to Alonso, free transfer. If it's your last free transfer, I think I'd prefer just rolling that over to Canada to have more info about what's going on. Alfie, Colapinto plus Norris plus Haas, or Lawson plus Norris plus Haas, negative 10, or Lawson plus Verstappen plus Racing Bulls, and is a 3x worth if you have Piastri and Norris. I'd like to wait on that chip just for later in the season, maybe like a sprint weekend, because you'll be scoring more points. So that's where I am at with that. But for the team, I think I prefer Lawson, Verstappen, Racing Bulls. Dank says, is Mercedes really not good for second team? I don't think they were worse than Ferrari. They're not bad for the second team, but it's just they have a pretty big chance of falling. Alonso or Lawson? Lawson. Ferrari have been great for a few races. They're due for heartbreak, so I won't be touching them, says Paper Cranes. Fair enough. Squirrel says, I have Albon and Williams. I was going to go triple Williams, but practice doesn't look good. Should I replace Albon with Sainz and Williams with Mercedes? I'd probably prefer Williams to Racing Bulls and Albon up to like Leclerc if you can get there. That would be my preference. Let's see here. What do we got? Trying to... Leclerc lap was 10 minutes left on FP3, by the way. Thank you for that. Samantha says, I think I feel all right about VCarb since Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes also close and probably taking points off each other, and they'll hopefully get 2 top 10s. Nice. Any differential recommendations if you can't afford Piastri, Verstappen, McLaren, VCarb? Leclerc seems fine. Leclerc instead of Verstappen, not bad at all. Sorry if this has been asked. I just tuned in and missed FP3. Can't decide between Ferrari and Red Bull. The people have spoken. Ferrari won the poll. Albon or Tsunoda? Albon. Colapinto for Lawson or save one transfer? God, Colapinto looks so bad. If it's to roll the transfer, like if you have 2 free transfers and you're just using one of them, you'll roll one. So if it's your first of 2, I'd do it. If it's your second of 2, I'd maybe avoid it. Swap Bortoleto / Colapinto to Alonso Lawson. If it's for free, man, I get this question so much. I feel like I'm changing my mind all the time. I prefer Lawson out of all 4 of those. We'll probably take both Piastri and Verstappen. Who do you put 2x on? Probably Piastri at this point. Verstappen, Red Bull, Sainz versus Piastri, Ferrari, Lawson. Piastri, Ferrari, Lawson. I think I will start to end up there a little bit. 56% of y'all are saying an extra 22 points instead of an extra 0.4 in budget. HA says, got Gasly, Hulk, and Albon, only 2 transfers. Gasly to Hadjar, second transfer unsure. So Gasly to Hadjar probably saves you, what, like 3 million? I don't know. It might just depend on what these FP3 sims are saying. Let me just go check, see if we've got anything going on in that world of sims. Pat has updated his slides with the post FP2 numbers, so we can go check those out in a little bit. Fred the Red says McLaren, Williams, Piastri, Hadjar, Colapinto, Albon, Stroll, and 110.8 million budget. Negative 10 to get rid of Williams, Albon, and Stroll. If you don't have to get rid of Williams for a negative 10, unless it's like to drop or to get up to like a Ferrari or Red Bull. Maddie says, shall I drop Ferrari for VCarb and then sell Albon for Lando? Um, it feels like a kind of like just drastically switching the balance of your team just to do it. I don't think there's any reason to not, especially if you're not gonna like 2x Lando. So I don't mind that. I don't know. Yeah, I think I'd probably just keep Ferrari, but maybe move Albon and roll a transfer. Mail says Piastri, Albon, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, McLaren, Mercedes. I have 2.2 million in the bank and 3 free transfers. What do I do? You will probably end up doing the same as me and go Albon to Lawson and Mercedes up to Ferrari/Red Bull. Fan says, do I choose Bortoleto and keep a transfer for next week, or do I choose Alonso without an extra transfer? I would keep an extra transfer. Lando's the one with the sandbags on. He did go off on his push lap, so I guess we didn't know like the true pace there, and he was like on those tires for his push lap, so we'll see. Manasvi says, I have Piastri, Colapinto, Hadjar, Lawson, Bortoleto with McLaren, Ferrari with 4.7 left in the bank. Should I keep this or swap Piastri with Verstappen? I'd probably keep it. Christian says, thoughts on the sim showing Lawson has more of a percent chance to drop than rise? Yeah, I didn't get that. I mean, he looks good. It's just, I would still back Lawson. Williams to Racing Bulls, Albon to who? Albon to Lawson? Sainz or Ollie? Probably Ollie. Yes, I think they're going to qualify low. What are we thinking with constructors? Ferrari looming gearbox issues with Lewis car, etc. Gearbox issues? I have not seen that. Are you talking like from previous races? Yeah, I have to trade out Albon and Stroll, considering a -10 to swap Williams for VCarb. I don't change constructors. I can get Hadjar, maybe Russell in. Scared of Melt Katie's, to be honest. Yeah, Russell is tougher than Mercedes, I think, because Russell's looking at like a 98% chance of dropping. So you could take a chance on Mercedes and hope that they get the 52 points, but I'm not sure about Russell. Hi, just joined. What do you think about Piastri, Verstappen, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Hadjar, VCarb, McLaren, or should I keep double premium constructor with Ferrari? Yeah, I don't mind Ferrari. Like, if you have them already, that's a 0.3 price increase. Piastri might not go up 0.3 this week as well, guys, because he needs 35 points. Now, I mean, it's looking pretty good. 10 points for for finishing on pole, 25 for a win, bada bing, bada boom. But there is a chance that Piastri only goes up 0.1. Emil says, thinking wildcard, triple McLaren, Racing Bulls, Hadjar, Alonso, Colapinto. I really, really like that. Is it good to just keep Albon for the sake of having 3 transfers in Canada and hope they are good next week? I mean, Albon has a pretty high chance of dropping, so if you can swallow that drop, then he's not the worst hole, but Williams just don't look all that great here right now. How about RB and then a Piastri Leclerc lineup? That's one of the options I'm thinking about, Modest Cowboy. I don't hate it. It's just like if something bad happens and like the B tier constructor falls all of a sudden, then that's not going to be good at all, and then you'll be out of the game. You'll be like chasing your tail with Ferrari, and I think we saw last season that like the double premium constructor is such a strong build. And while it's not like amazing at gaining budget at times, it's still like really, really solid, and you can't really go wrong with it. And like DNFs are way less frequent in the top tier of racing. So that's kind of like where my thoughts are, just like a little bit of safety. Going VCarb is very tempting, but I think that's as low as I would go. I wouldn't go kick. I do think as well that some drivers don't give it all in FP and go all in qualifying. Our predictions made on FP3 goes to poop. Yep, I agree, Diogo. Where he says, I love you and all the stream. Come on. Yep, thank you, everyone who is liking. I mean, 137 likes. You guys are absolutely crushing it. We're over 3,200 subscribers, so that's epic as well. Alonso or Lawson, -10 Lawson or Sainz. Yeah, -10. Yeah, I don't think I'd swap that around. I don't like hits. Piastri, Alonso, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, Hadjar, McLaren, Ferrari. Who to swap for Lawson? Colapinto. Probably, yeah. I can fit in Piastri, Lando, Hadjar, Alonso. Let's see, actually. Um, no, I'd swap in Hulkenberg. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'd swap out Hulkenberg for Lawson. Kobo says I can fit in Piastri, Lando, Hadjar, Alonso, Bortoleto, McLaren, VCAR. I'm like 850-ish in the world, so I don't want to screw this up. You're doing great. Whatever got you here is like fine. So keep doing that. Trust your gut. Sanjita says, I started the fantasy journey this year in Suzuka, 2 races down. I have 1,400 points. What would my rank be? I do not know, but I could try and figure that out. Manafsi says, I have a budget of 108.7. My current team, what should I change with this? I'd get Albon and William. At least Albon and Stroll out is what I would prioritize. Kip2 says, hello, you and I have Piastri, Albon, Stroll, Colapinto, Hadjar, McLaren, Williams, but I have taken negative 10 for Piastri, Alonso, Lawson. Blah, blah, blah. Getting Albon and Stroll out is probably the priority there. Mike, Joe Fish, do I hold Mercedes? I have 3 transfers next weekend or trade them to Red Bull? I can't afford a Ferrari without negative 10. If Mercedes could perform a miracle and get the price rise, but there's just something about the race pace is scary. That's the only thing. If they can fix it, if it looks like they fixed it, then that is something. But I will definitely like tweet out my final lineup in probably about an hour here, guys, at F1 Fantasy UN, if you want to follow me on X or Twitter or whatever you guys are calling it. So that's where I'll post everything. So I've got about 10 minutes left before I got to jet out of here. Brian says, is it worth taking negative 10 to change from Williams to Ferrari/Red Bull? Depends if you need budget or not. If you need budget, probably not. If you don't need budget, sure, go for it. Jasper, Piastri, Albon, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Gasly, McLaren, Williams, 2 out of 2, 6. What should I do? You should get rid of Albon and Gasly, probably for Lawson. And I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know who the other, maybe Behrman? There we go. Joe Fish, I'm with the negative 10 Ferrari means no Hadjar. Ooh, yeah, no, gotta have Hadjar this week. Good luck all settled on Piastri, Behrman, Gasly, sadly. Hadjar, Colapinto, Ferrari, McLaren. Gasly's gonna hurt. Janik says, Piastri, Albon, Hulkenberg, Colapinto, Gasly, Mercedes, Williams, and already switched Gasly and Hulkenberg for Lawson and Hadjar. Would you go to Ferrari and Sainz and take negative 20 or leave it with, I would not take a negative 20, so I would leave it as is. Would no negative be a good chip to play here in case of DSQ due to new regs? Didn't end up playing it last week and don't know when else I'd use it. No, it's just such a low overtake track or low DNF track. There's been 2 DNFs here over the last 3 years, Ben. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And the new regs, that's just guessing. So we don't want to use a chip when we're guessing like that. Hussein, Piastri times 2, Sainz, Colapinto, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes, 1.2 in the bank. My budget. What do you suggest I do? Sainz to Lawson, and you might just have to roll there. I don't know what else you could do. Yeah, Sainz to Lawson and maybe just roll there, Hussein. Angel says, should I take a negative 10 to swap Ferrari to VCARB? Still have Limitless for the future using transfers to ditch Gasly and Hulkenberg. Current team, Piastri, Gasly, Bortoleto, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, McLaren, Ferrari. Focus, budget, or points? A little bit of both. You're costing yourself points going from Ferrari to VCARB, so I don't love that. But if you can get Gasly down to Hadjar and Hulkenberg to Lawson, you're in with a good shout and you're still scoring pretty strong points with the double constructor and Piastri. I will replace Mercedes and Albon for Ferrari and Lawson or Sainz. Which one would you pick? I would pick Lawson. Carlos says Piastri, Albon, Hadjar, Colapinto, Stroll, McLaren, Williams, Limitless, and Monaco. Man, a lot at the table. 1 or 2 transfers, 3 transfers. Yeah, if you go any further than negative 10, I'd go with the wild card. Andrea says, if having McLaren, Colapinto, Bortoleto, would you also go Ferrari, Hadjar, Lawson, or Red Bull, Sainz, Alonso? I prefer Ferrari, Hadjar, Lawson there. Piastri, Leclerc, Lawson has, I like that. That is an option. I think that's a negative 10 for me, so I really don't want to take a hit, though. Sanjita says, double VCARB, McLaren, Ferrari, Piastri, Alonso, Colapinto, good. Yeah, I like that. Fuma says, Piastri, Lawson, Hadjar, Colapinto, McLaren, Red Bull, but can't decide between Alonso and Sainz for the last spot. We'll also be rolling 1 transfer. That's a toss-up. Depends. Maybe we can just wait for the sims on that one. Maybe I'd go Sainz, because I think Alonso that race pace for Aston Martin is terrible. Which B tier driver is a must besides Isaac? I'd probably say Lawson. I believe in him quite a lot. Joel Blizzard is in the chat, thinking of going Norris, Piastri, Hadjar, Cullipan to Bortoleto, McLaren, V-Carb. Worth doing autopilot or just go for Norris on the 2X? Autopilot's not a bad play. I'd prefer it probably on like a sprint weekend, but I mean, McLaren do look quite dominant this weekend. So if you just don't want to worry about the 2X decision, autopilot is a fine weekend. Bortoleto out to anyone below 14 point William apart from Colapinto, Hadjar, Lawson, or save free transfer for next week. Save that free transfer, Joshua. What would you run the 115.3 million for a mix of points plus budget? Thanks for the help, says Paolo. I think we had that up earlier, didn't we? But what was it? 115.3. Is that what you said, Paolo? 115.3. I've got some teams crossed out here, actually. So let me get those back out. Yeah, don't want any of those. I guess I'll put Mercedes in there. It looks like, for a points perspective, you'd be going McLaren, Red Bull, Piastri, Tsunoda, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Hadjar, but I don't like Tsunoda. So you could roll with Alonso, or this lineup here, McLaren, Red Bull, Piastri, Alonso, Hadjar, Colapinto, Albon. Don't mind that. Who to swap for Lawson? Alonso, Colapinto, Hulkenberg, or Hadjar? Not Hadjar, probably Hulkenberg, because Alonso and Colapinto cannot fall. Who to swap for Lawson? Alonso, Colapinto. Oh, you're just at. There we go. SSR or SRR. Piastri, Norris, Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, McLaren, V-Carb, or same team, but with Lawson instead of Bortoleto for -10. No, I would save the 10 points. I don't usually take -10 for B tier swap, but think Hulkenberg is worth it with Yes, I do a deal. I think that is worth it. Daniel or Jalev 7 is Racing Bulls a realistic option? It's guaranteed 0 points. I get to. I like it. Yeah, if you can get to it for free, I would do that, Jelev. Daniel says, had Hadjar and Lawson or Hadjar and Alonso, do we trust Alonso to get more points than Lawson? Also safety for no budget loss. Hadjar and Lawson for me. How much points would the team on the screen do according to you? I think it said it was about 200 points. Maybe go differential and hope that Alb will crush on qualifying and race as everyone in my league. Or should I not change Williams, Ferrari, and keep McLaren and Williams? I think getting to a double constructor is kind of nice this weekend. Wildcard, triple McLaren, triple V-Carb, Alonso. Thoughts? I like it, but it's risky because just like one V-Carb DNF, and that is brutal. Ferrari, Red Bull, the people have spoken. They were going with Ferrari, Matt. What situations? If like Piastri is like P8 or P7, P6, P5 probably, and Max takes pole, that would probably it. Saving my boost tokens for the best sprint and race weekend coming up in Spa. Georgia, it is not good to have Kimi this weekend. Should I take Alonso, Oscar, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Colapinto? Should I not change Williams, Ferrari, and keep McLaren and Williams? I don't love the -10, but Alonso, Oscar, Hadjar, Bortoleto, Colapinto is fine. BO says, looking to build budget and just swap Gasly for Lawson. Thoughts? Yes, I like that a lot. Alonso or Lawson for Hulkenberg? I'd go Lawson. Checking in from South America, says Daniel. I have Leclerc, Hadjar, Hulkenberg, Sainz, Colapinto, McLaren, Mercedes. Thinking of swapping Sainz and Mercedes for Piastri and V-Carb. I like it. Okay. I am trying to. Georgia, you should not put in Ant this week. No. Went Max and Red Bull. If Max is further than P3 after qual, would you final fix? Yes, probably. Sammy says, hey, Ewan, Leclerc plus V-Carb or Lawson, Red Bull. Good luck all. If it's for free, man, maybe Lawson, Red Bull. But I do like Ferrari this week. Ahmed said, would take a -10 from Williams to V-Carb? No, I would not do that. Saif says, how's it going? Ferrari, Lawson, or Ferrari, Behrman? I'll be swapping Ant and Williams. I prefer Ferrari and Lawson. And 7.6 million in the bank. Who should I go for? I have Hadjar, Colapinto, Bortoleto, Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari. I would go with Lawson. I like that, Kevin. Autopilot when I have Verstappen and Piastri. Don't mind that at all. Mercedes to Ferrari and Behrman to Lawson. Yes. Behrman to Lawson? I don't know. Maybe you don't have to do that. But that is it for me. Oh, sorry, Males. Where are you at? Males. Sorry, Mail. I can't see your message, but I literally have to go. So sorry about that, Mails. Hit me up on X at F1 Fantasy U, and I will get to you while I am on the train. My final team is probably going to look something like this. Either Red Bull or Ferrari, but I don't think I'm going to take a hit. So that's really it. But yes, if you guys have any more questions, hit me up on X at F1 Fantasy U. And I really appreciate everyone being in the chat. There was so many people. I was not anticipating how many. But go check out Rob's deadline stream, Rain's deadline stream, the FanAmp Fantasy Formula guys. They are all fantastic. I will put you over there for your questions. I really appreciate everyone coming in. So go check out their streams. But once again, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next time.